I love the cyclical nature of YouTube. This person inspired this person, and that person,
It's so true.
It's the best part of YouTube is that like inspiration leads to someone, also becoming successful on the platform, and then it's just such a cool cyclical nature of it.
In this episode of Passion in Progress, Colin Ross. With a YouTube channel with more than 715K subscribers, Colin is most known for his YouTube channel, CCMegaProductions, where you can find renditions of video games in real life. I'm talking about him battling it out with CG characters from Minecraft, Mario, Legos, and most recently, Fortnite. Colin is a computer graphics wizard. Some of the effects that he does in his videos are mind-boggling, and the proof is there. He's been able to collaborate with some top-tier YouTubers like Sarah Dici, Dan Mace, and Devin Supertramp. Colin also has a personal YouTube channel, just named Colin Ross, and through this channel is where I met Colin. He made cinematic material mixed with inspirational, relatable conversations to the viewers. He, in and of himself, inspired me to become a YouTube creator. In a collaboration with an Instagram influencer, Amir Zachary, he made an After Effects tutorial about pulling a person through a picture frame. And I think it's fitting because he was always a person on a computer screen that I would get motivation from, that I would interact with online. But now I've been pulled out of my regular routine life. I bought a ticket and I went to LA to go do a podcast with the person that inspired me to become a creator, Colin Ross. But before we get to the podcast, I just want to thank all my listeners and viewers and all the feedback I've been getting on the podcast. Thank you so much. And thank you to the people who have been sharing it on social media and discussing it with your friends. So if you want to support the podcast, please share it out on Twitter, text it to a friend. You could write a letter to your grandma telling them about the Passion in Progress podcast. And as always, if you really want to support the podcast, please write me a review on iTunes. And I just got to say, today's iTunes review, whoever you are, native code, you're the best person ever. Listen to this. Must listen. Javier brings boundless energy and enthusiasm to all his podcasts. He truly personifies passion in progress. The series are informative and valuable to all that are trying to progress along their creative dreams. Check out his work on YouTube too. He has great attention to detail and adds some fantastic cinematography from time to time. Get in early. This thing is going to explode. It's that good. Oh my gosh, Native Code, I love you. If there is ever anybody that has written a review that has been the best review for any podcast in the history of podcasts on planet universe, it was you, Native Code. Thank you so much for that review. If you want to top that review, please just open up your iTunes app, write me a review. All right, guys, time to swing it over to LA to the guy that inspired me to become a creator, Colin Ross. I can't wait for you guys to hear this. He's a great guy. What is up, Merce Nation? Javier Mercedes here for yet again another Passion in Progress podcast. And this is the day. There is a bucket list of people that I wanted to get on this podcast. And you know what? Dreams do come true, because there is a man in front of me that was on that bucket list, and now he's here. He's turned from digital into real life person.
Yeah, it's always awesome meeting like internet friends in real life, and
My YouTube career or anything was started because of inspiration from this guy. His name is Colin Ross. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good. Happy to see you today.
I think what I know you from is from your vlogs, right?
Uh-huh.
And I watched your vlogs for so long that I didn't even know you had a second channel.
Yeah.
the CCMegaProductions.
Yeah.
And then once I saw that, I was like, oh, like how is he doing this at the same time? This is crazy. But to give you an idea, what's your CCMegaProductions up to subscriber-wise?
CCMegaProductions is up to 667,000 subscribers.
Congratulations, man. That's awesome. And then what's your personal vlog at?
I think it's up to 27 or 28,000 now. 29 maybe.
Yeah, well, I mean, by the time this releases, it'll be more than those numbers, but that speaks volumes to who you are as a creator, I think.
Thank you.
And I just wanted to come and just like sit and listen to your story, and because people can get it from start to finish in your personal vlogs,
Yeah.
And it's amazing in how you vlog and how you portray and how you shoot and create and do all those things. But I'm just here to get your side of the story, where you're at now and all that kind of stuff. So take me back to Kansas City, man. How did you get into the YouTube game and all that?
So the YouTube game, I remember it first started, I think the first video, or one of the first videos I ever saw, was by a creator named Freddie W. I'm not sure if you're familiar with him.
Come on.
Well, I guess, yeah, he's like one of like the most huge classic YouTubers in the game. But shout out to Freddie W. He's like one of my biggest inspirations. And I saw his video Chrono Trigger, and I remember watching the behind the scenes for that. And I saw the video and I was like, who's making this? Like, it had to be some, like huge production. And it's just these two guys out there just in a field making movies. And I saw that, and I think I was probably 11, 12, 13 at the time. And I'd already kind of been interested in photography and videography, but then I saw that and it kind of got me interested in visual effects and just kind of becoming like almost like a one-man band. And I just kind of want to learn as much as I can so I can make videos like this guy. So
he had a sidekick. Who was his sidekick that
Brandon LJA, Brandon
yeah.
Latch, yeah.
And his, like, when he did tutorials, it was like, like, what is going? Like, this is the nitty gritty stuff.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So talk to me. Which started first, the Mega Productions or your personal vlog?
Mega Productions. So I started there just doing like muzzle flash tests and just trying to like learn software and doing action scenes, and then it slowly kind of developed more into a targeted thing where I think I was 15. I made a Minecraft in real life, and I didn't really understand the algorithm or anything at the time. I was just, making videos and
just making vids.
Yeah, just making vids, man. And but I did that, and the YouTuber named Syndicate, the Syndicate Project, he tweeted it out, and it got like 25,000 views overnight. And I checked it, and I was like, I gained like maybe 1,000 subscribers, and I was like, holy cow! Like, and that was before it was super monetizable, I guess. Like, there were ads, but like I didn't really know. Well, I guess I had ads on my channel at that time, but like when I first started out, like it wasn't as popular as it is now. With like everyone kind of knows, oh yeah, like YouTube puts ads on your videos, and that's how you make money. So yeah, I just put that out there, and then right after that, I kind of started to realize like I can make these videos and like people can watch them, and like I can inspire them maybe in the same way that like Freddie W could inspire me. So that's I think kind of like the biggest mission for me, is trying to give that same, when I first saw that video, just like the feeling I had watching it. I just kind of want to, like, if I can do that to at least like one or two other people, like that's the dream.
Sitting right in front of you.
Yeah.
Let's dive into that. So in terms of community, when you started your vlog and everything, like how did it progress, and like how was, like you were explaining, that feeling of like actually providing value to people and doing all that stuff? Like how was that?
Yeah, exactly. And I think with the CCMegaProductions stuff, it started out, I was just making these videos and I just enjoyed making them. I loved doing it. And then, as you know, with YouTube, and especially like with that genre, you kind of get pigeonholed a little bit. Like once you start making something, YouTube only gives views to, like whatever you make that is, I don't know,
suggestible.
Yeah,
like from the thing that it's like the funnel. That
exactly. And I think anytime that starts to leak too much into what you're doing, you don't lose some of that passion, but it's like it's harder because you're kind of like weighing, like, okay, this will get more views, but it's not exactly what I love making. And then obviously you have to balance that with, you have to like make a living and survive, and you don't want to be a starving artist. So I started to lose some of my passion for creating on that channel. And that's when I kind of started up making my vlogs and like doing things more cinematically and trying to be, just try to show who I am on camera as authentically as possible, and, hope that, people will respond to that.
When you first started off, how was it when you had a huge channel and then you're like, here's this side project?
Yeah, it was very freeing because you have like all these expectations on CCMegaProductions, and like as much as I wish I could just like stop uploading there, it is what has fueled, this whole creative endeavor and me dropping out of college and pursuing my passion full time. So like I still have to do that because it, it pays my rent and it pays for what I'm doing, and I'm not quite there on the Colin Ross channel. But like it was so freeing when I first started making those vlogs, because like there were no expectations. I didn't have to worry about, like what I was making. And I think that even like recently I haven't been as active on that Colin Ross channel. And I think it's because I'm like slightly scared of that like starting to leak in more to the Colin Ross with like as like the numbers grow, and like I've had an After Effects tutorial get big, and then people are expecting After Effects tutorials and like vlogs, and like then I like think about it too much. I kind of get to like the overthinking stage of like, well, what exactly do I want to make? And I think that's, you obviously can't overthink that, but it's super important to just like think about what makes me the happiest to make.
With that though, in your happy medium between like creating content, and it's such like a double-edged sword, because you have your biggest one, and you're on such a different side of the spectrum of it. But like in my personal page right now, I started 2 pages. I started my podcast page, then I did my own, and then I looked at people like Sarah Dietschy and everything. She had her own podcast page and her own thing, and I view her content, and I was like, you know, watching her podcast, I just like, it's just an extension of who she is as a brand. Like I wouldn't mind if it was on the same thing as it grew. So I had like tutorials, and I was like cooking my way through cookbooks and like doing like, then and then I'm like vlogging at the same time. And I was like, so I started to take everything that I had on my podcast page and then just put it back underneath my own, because I was like, you know what, if I can see all these other people that are like uploading and doing their thing, and I just see this material as an extension of like, all right, this is the thing that they're doing at that time, then you start, in my mind, I feel like you start to garner the tribe, or the people that are really into your content and you as a person, you know?
For sure.
What are your thoughts on that? Because you're on the other side of the spectrum, and it sounds like when you get to the point of like, it's a month out from like your last upload, and then it's like 2 months out, and you're like, then that anticipation boils up, and you're like, sometimes you just got to post something that's like, just like, here's me sitting in my kitchen, like in front of my refrigerator talking, and then like at least you get over that hump.
Yeah, like that momentum, like when you're doing it and you lose that momentum, it's so hard to kind of like gain that back. And because at the end of last year, I kind of abandoned the CCMegaProductions channel more, and you know, I uploaded every day for I think like 75 days or something like that. And like that momentum, just like once you get in that routine, and not like routine in a bad way, but just like once you, what am I trying to say here? So
to me, and all the people that I'm like interviewing that are YouTubers, we always have this the question of quantity versus quality, right?
Yeah, exactly.
In my mind, it's especially when I was going inspired by you, going monthly, or not monthly, but going daily for a month. It gets to the point where you achieve quality through quantity. As you go along, setting that parameter of the time limit of you have 24 hours to do this thing, then you become more efficient. You start making the right decisions on like, well, do I need to film this? Do I need to, because on the back end, I'm going to have to do this in post and all that other stuff.
Exactly. So, you know, like you have to balance things. Like when you're filming something every day, and especially if it's like a vlog and it's what you're actually doing in the day, it is kind of intrusive on, you know, like, well, should I film this? Should I film that? Like, am I actually living today, or am I like filming it? And like obviously, you know, you try to be as authentic as possible in sharing what you're actually doing, but at the end of the day, like you have to make the decision, is this taking away from me like actually living my own life, you know? Like, and for me, I think it was. And like I'm kind of like an introverted, not like anxious person, but like I'm not like the most social person in the world, and I think like sharing so much like of what I was doing, like it almost got to like not an anxiety, but it got to the point where it was kind of taking over, and I didn't feel like it was healthy, and I didn't feel like my mind was, and I could do it, like I had the physical like, you know, tactile ability to like edit every day or what.
Yeah.
In the end, for me, like I loved making the videos, but it got intrusive onto like my mental state, and you know, like I think that's something that's it's been talked about more, but like when you're doing it every day and like you're filming your life, and it kind of, it doesn't change what you're doing, but you like kind of like think about what you're doing a lot. And this, I'm going in like a roundabout. I feel like that, and I need
no. I think literally what you're talking about is what all creators in their head go through. But continue.
Yeah, and then you also start to think, well, if I stop posting, like I haven't posted for the last couple months on the Colin Ross channel.
It's not to discredit that you have been working. You have like literally you've been. Is it like bi-weekly on CC?
Yeah, CC is bi-weekly, and it's something too that like I post on there, and obviously that's like 100% different end of the spectrum on like content wise. And I feel like it's slightly hypocritical because on Colin Ross, I talk all like about, you know, creating for the right reasons, but there's also, you know, just like this other side on CCMegaProductions where it's not what I like. I still like making the content, but it's just not necessarily like the stories that I'd like to be telling. And I've been doing like other stuff on the side too. Like I've been working on some stuff with like some Instagram people and whatnot, doing visual effects, because that's what I do, like love doing, and that's what one of my best skills is, like in filmmaking. But like you start to think like, oh, I haven't posted to Instagram for a week, I haven't posted to YouTube for a couple months. Like, have I like disappeared from like not like people's minds, but like you start to like think like, do I even exist if I don't post it to like YouTube? Like it's such a crazy kind of like world that we're living in nowadays, where that's like even like a thought that pops in my head.
I don't think it's anything to discredit that. If it's not even for your personal gain, you know, you are doing other stuff for other people. So it's like, in my case for the Chive, it's like I was doing as much as I could on my own channel, but in reality, like I was literally putting out a video.
I still don't know how you did like the daily vlogs while also like working full time. I don't even know how that works.
I was doing a video a day, or I was working on like if it was a bigger project, but in terms of putting the same amount of effort into content in general, it was still happening day to day, but maybe people don't recognize it because it's like, if it's not for my own personal, like whatever being posted in the places where people expect to see that content. If
people can't see it, they don't know that you're doing it. Like,
actually, let's get into your collabs then, because what's interesting to me is like you'll post like every month, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, here's Serdici showing up, and then it's like Dan Mace and like Sam Sheffer and like all those other people, and just like out of nowhere, like, where's the backstory, you know? But what I imagine is like things happen so fast, and you got to like, and you for those people, you want to give them the attention that's deserved, you know?
Exactly. When you're like collabing with someone, especially, you know, when like you and I that are smaller creators, like I think offering, which has been said before, I've heard it kind of like float around, but like offering value to like those people, and like something that I can offer is like visual effects or like whatever you have that is valuable, which everyone has something that they can bring to the table and offer, you know. Like for me, you know, I emailed Serdici, and she responded, and because she had seen my what was the video?
Was it the tripod one?
Yes, the Joby invasion. So she had seen that, and I said, hey, like I can maybe do like a short animation, just like, you know, in like one of your vlogs. And she was like, oh, cool. Like I'm in California. So that one just kind of like worked out. But it's super hard when like you're trying to, you know, juggle the CCMegaProductions that's paying the rent, and then also like upload a vlog, and then also grind out this like short animation that, you know, takes a lot of time to animate and render and do all the effects for. Because at the end of the day, the collabs that you're doing, like the reason that I was collabing with them is because I was making like a short part of their video. So like I'm like sitting here like trying to grind that out and work as hard as possible on that, and obviously hope that they're satisfied with that product because it's going on their channel.
I think this speaks though to your mantra of, you know, can you say it yourself?
Every day counts.
Every day counts. And I think the aesthetic of how it's written out is so cool. I remember when that popped up on your channel, I was like, this looks so cool.
Thanks.
Did you make it yourself?
It's actually a font. It's taken by Vultures from defont.com.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
In terms of hustle and all that other stuff, the people that have been following your story and everything, and like I said, when you post the collabs and all that stuff, they can see you're putting in the same amount of work that you were before, but
it's just not as visible to the behind the scenes and like the daily, like they don't get to see that grind, but then there's like kind of like the product, and I feel like I'm not necessarily delivering enough on like, because there's so much good story into like how these things happened, but I'm not doing like the best job. And like that's like the balance too, is like with the whole everyday counts thing, it's not about, you know, like grinding every day and like making like, which it is about making the most every day, but it's not about, you know, just working so hard that your face falls off. It's about finding that balance for you of like, you know, family time, and like, you know, you have like your son, and like finding the balance between, because like obviously we're so passionate about videography, but like it's so easy to get consumed by it in almost like a negative way of like, am I being, you know, like the best boyfriend that I can be? Am I being the best friend? Like, how am I because I think once you get consumed too much, it's definitely like can be a negative thing, because it's so easy, like when you're passionate about something, to just like dive in so crazily that like you like have like no senses to the outside world of like really what's like going on.
Yeah, I think the crazy thing with that too is your experiences in life give you the opinions and who you are as a person to create effective content. Like if you're not going out in life and actually experiencing things,
Exactly.
then you're just a person sitting behind a computer
Yeah.
that like, and you're making your own assumptions about how life is, and like creating your own world inside, like, all right, here's this nice slow-mo shot and here's all this stuff. One of the things I love, and the proof is in the pudding for how much of a following on your personal page, is how well you are at portraying authentic moments. I think like take for instance when you have a vlog and it's like the family get together, right? And those are the hardest, because you physically want to spend time.
I just got goosebumps just thinking. Like,
yeah, like when you want to spend time with the family, you know?
yeah, it's such a double-edged sword, because I love sharing those moments and I love capturing those memories, because I'm a very kind of like sentimental person. Like I like to look back and like, which is like definitely a fault at times when you're looking back too much and you're not, like making every day count and like living in the moment. But I love capturing those moments and like showing what it was actually like. But then you also have to think about like when I filmed, like one of my favorites is my 4th of July. I don't know if you saw that one. I documented just like the way that it has always been like for my family growing up, which like in Kansas, I don't know if it's like a bigger it's like, I feel like, because some people have seen that video and be like, wait, like you actually have like this whole parade and like do like all this crazy stuff. I'm like, yeah, like I didn't know, like that's just how it's always been. So like sharing those authentic moments, I think that's one of like the coolest parts about YouTube, is like you get to see those moments through like different people and like different lives and different cultures. But it's also, yeah, when you can't experience it the way that you were like filming it, because when you're filming things and like you're creating, like you're not completely in the moment. It's definitely like I try to have it be as like almost a documentary as possible, where I'm just kind of like sitting there in a corner like filming it, but you're still like you're thinking, oh shoot, I got a memory card here, I got this here, I like gotta like offload stuff on the computer, because like it's just like, like when you're setting up the podcast, like there's so many little things that take up brain space that keep you from like living in the moment, enjoying like time with your family. And that's what I've also been doing like the past couple of weeks. Like my parents came up and like hung out for a week, and we went to the beach and like did all these amazing things. And I brought my camera, and then I was just sitting there. I was like this moment, like I can capture it and I can share it, but also like it just felt so good to just like live and exist in the moment. So I'm trying to find that right balance, and it's definitely a difficult thing. And I'm sure like, too, like any creative person, that's like the $1 million question, is how do you balance all these things and like still capture it and like show it in like a respectful way.
If anybody doesn't know Colin from listening or viewing this right now, you can get a sense of the talking head pieces that you have within your vlogs. I think that's the other personable part about what you do within your content. If it was something where you were trying to tackle a much bigger project, you would take the time, like go sit, then you have like a talking head of like, it's not just content for content's sake. It's you're talking through your thoughts, and not only that, but you're relating it to your audience in a way that like you relate to it. I don't know if that's like a really meta thing to say, but
I know what you're saying.
But I even like at the end of your vlogs, you're like, if you don't like it, tell me how I like leave a dislike and like tell me how it can be better.
That's the thing is like I'm as a creator too, like getting that honest feedback, and that's what makes YouTube so great, is when you get that almost instantaneous feedback of like, oh, like this sucked, that audio was crackling there, like it's popping, and like it's hard to take criticism. Like that's not an easy thing to do in any sense of the word, but like if you can think about like, people are actually offering their opinion here, instead of like when someone comes in, they just like say some like hateful stuff and it doesn't have like any warrant. You obviously have to just kind of like, yeah, that's YouTube. That's just how it goes. There's going to be haters there. Basically, I feel like if you can get that criticism and actually use it to better yourself, because I remember like when I first started vlogging, like it just helped evolve the quality of my content, because like people would comment and they would say, your audio's popping between every take. And then I figured out constant power in Premiere, which it's like basically it just, stops your audio from popping from like cut to cut. You just learn so many things through the feedback that I feel like a lot of people don't like to listen into that like feedback. But yeah.
And you yourself, if you watch somebody else's content, say they're a new creator. So let's put it this way. Say it was like somebody like me, right? That's like really into your content and everything. Then you go watch one of my videos. Would you rather just leave a comment that's like, this is really cool and like give all the good things? Or would you want to leave something that like, you know what, I like, because of your experience, you see it and you're like, I see this one thing that like, oh, if they just switch this, like, I'm pretty sure like your audience retention would be better and like all this other stuff. And it'd be like more relatable. Like what goes through your mind when you're watching other people's content?
Yeah, I think the hardest thing is like, cause sometimes when you say those things, it can be discouraging, like even like a little bit. And that's, I think, what I was kind of trying to make the point, like getting those comments can be discouraging because you're like, oh, like I messed up there. Like I feel bad. So like, it's kind of like finding the balance because you also don't want to like lie and say, oh, your video is really great, blah, blah, blah. But like when there was like, a few things that could have, and not that it wasn't great, but there's a few things that could have just, brought to that next level. So I think I always try to balance too, like how much I consume versus how much like I'm producing. I think it's Gary Vee that kind of talks about that. But whenever I do consume content, I do try to like give as much valuable feedback as possible if there is like something that I think like can be better in their stuff.
I mean, there's like two ways I want to go with that because like one, I love Gary Vee. Two,
so many directions.
Yeah, consuming versus not consuming, and then three, just like leaving the comments themselves. Personally, whenever I'm watching something, I think it's like more respectful of whoever it is. If you're leaving a comment, then if you can be critical in a way that's like nice, I guess. Yeah. It's like such a hard line to tote because one, you can't, like sarcasm on the internet is like,
it's hard to read.
So hard to read. Like, and I know I can be a sarcastic person, but I don't want to like leave a bad comment and then just have it be taken the wrong way. But at the same time, I know me as a creator would get so much more value out of people saying like, hey, this video was too long. Hey, this video did this way. You should try doing this. And you know how much faster those things would like that annoy people would get out of the way?
Yeah.
It would, like, I view it that way, but then it's also is this somebody that just like popped up on my page and then I'm just like leaving a comment for the first time? It's such a hard line to tote.
No, it definitely is a really hard line to figure out, like the comments, because like I'll get a lot of comments on myself. It's like, oh, this is great, and I'm like I appreciate that to like 100%, but like I sometimes will reply and be like, yo, like what you think could have been better, because like at the end of the day, I think we're all filmmakers that want to improve like sound, audio, like just lighting, everything. So I think leaving that valuable feedback and being kind about it without being like too fluffy, and it's definitely a hard line to like get right.
Like sometimes what I'll do is I'll find them like on Instagram, and then I'll send like a DM to Instagram, and I'll be like, well, now it's not public, and now they know I'm trying to actually be sincere about what I'm trying to say. Because like obviously it's so awesome to see people put so much work into creating content. Flip side of the spectrum is like, who are you, in my sense, like who am I to give some like sort of criticism to somebody, like it's like, hey, I'm just like a viewer of your content. This is what I would do, and then just like have it be there, but then also like try and in a helpful way, Let's go into consumption versus actually creating content, because I actually haven't even thought about. I definitely think about it all the time when I'm consuming and creating content. But I like in terms of conversation about it, I don't think I've ever like talked about that. So what do you do in terms of like day to day to give the audience an idea of the spectrum of the content that you make, especially on CC? Like, it's very time consuming.
Yeah, definitely. Like the 3D process and all that is very, just the rendering takes a long time, the animating, like the 3D tracking and like fitting it into the environment and the light, like it's all like a very time. And that's like the thing I dislike about it the most, is because I have to do that to like survive and like eat, but it takes so much time. It's not like I can just run out and like make this completely garbage thing. I think it can kind of be considered not in like the garbage category of YouTube, but like it's definitely like targeted towards kids and animation and that sort of thing.
Like if you were to view it, it would for sure be like, this is the like the demographic.
Yeah, exactly. But it's kind of frustrating that it takes so much time to make those videos, especially when I try to make them, like 9 to 10 minutes, and that takes in a lot of like what I'm producing. But as far as like producing versus consumption, for me, it's because the thing is like I want to consume too, because like when you're consuming, you also you get a feel for like what YouTube like in the environment, and like it's important to know not the playing field, but I think it's important to be conscious of how much you're producing and consuming. But for me, it's probably like I say it's probably like 90-10 producing versus consumption. So I like to consume, and like watching YouTube videos is fun. So like at the end of the day, I'll definitely like probably from like 11 to midnight I'll like spend watching some stuff. But like it's definitely something to be conscious about, because when you're watching too much, that obviously, you know, you're not putting enough effort into like the production side of things.
In my experience, it's so hard to tote that line, because like even let's say I want to like give a shout out to somebody, right? And I like, oh, let me go pull a graphic that shows their channel page and like pull that up. And then like I open up YouTube and like they're so good at this point.
Oh my God,
like,
YouTube, it's literally insane. Like
it's like, oh, PewDiePie has a new video, and like I'll spend like, I don't know, like 2 weeks without watching a PewDiePie video, and
then you'll go on a binge throughout the next like
exactly
2 hours, and you're like, wait, what was I here for? And like YouTube, it's crazy how much it's evolved too, because it used to be, you know, you went to the YouTube homepage, it was your subscriptions and like maybe some like, you know, viral videos or something, but now it's all suggested to you. It's like, and like YouTube's good at suggesting like who you would want to watch, but it's just crazy because like you click on one video and then it's like, oh, what's up next? And like it's perfectly like, oh yeah, I'll check that out too. And then you just go down the rabbit hole, and like YouTube basically is just like knows like who we are because of what we watch. It's kind of creepy, honestly.
Yeah, robots taking our jobs,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
not our jobs, but our brains.
Their brains are being just, yeah, it's crazy. YouTube.
There's a community that I'm a big part of right now called the No Small Creator.
Yeah, I've seen some of that stuff.
I would love to get your takes on it, just because the mentality of it is you're a creator regardless of who you are, and you're making something to put out into the world. And in most instances, like if you stumble across something, especially being a fellow creator, you can see like take away the experience of knowing how to handle a camera, knowing how to do all the like lighting or audio things. You can tell that in most cases, like when people are making content for, like you say, like the right reasons, when they're just like, you know what, I want to document this, I want to be creative, I want to do this stuff. It's cool to see that like the amount of effort that's there is like the same amount. It's just the ratio of experience for some people might be different than others. But what's crazy to me about YouTube is it's okay. Like people can relate to other people, and like if somebody's walking through the woods and they're talking about whatever, it could, if they're so authentic with what they're doing, you can still be captivated.
Exactly.
What are your thoughts on just like that there is no small creator, or I guess just the concept of that?
With the No Small Creator, it is crazy how like when you're watching a YouTube video, like I don't really look at the subscriber number, like how many like followers and like views. Like I just try to connect like with what the person is saying, and if I find the video captivating, I'm gonna watch it regardless of who it is. Like I definitely think there's something to be said, like there's kind of like a numbers game like that Casey has. Like if you were a new viewer to come to Casey and you watch his stuff, like, and you enjoy it, and then you check and you're like, oh shoot, like he has, you know, 10 million subscribers, like but there's also people that you watch their video and you're kind of expecting that same size by like the quality, and then like it's like, oh, they only have 500 subscribers, like, or whatever.
Yeah, the craziest is like when you see it and they're like 56 and you're like, oh my gosh, like the amount of time you put into this.
Exactly.
I don't know if you have anything more to say about it, but I think in terms of like the same crowd that follows you are a lot of those relatable people where they're like, I just want to make content and be creative, and have that outlet, you know?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, let's talk about Casey. Have you met him?
I have not met Casey. So when I went and did the Dan Mace collab and I was like in the 368 building, I think he was actually in LA. So we kind of like flopped places for like a little bit. So I haven't met Casey, but
you're so close.
I'm like pretty close, but yeah.
To give the people that don't know, can you tell the backstory behind all the different videos and things like that you've done to, I guess, as a tribute and capture his attention?
Yeah, definitely. And that's like also another balance. But like, yeah, so I mean, like everyone else, like saw Casey stuff. I think it like maybe like 500 or 600,000 subscribers, like pretty close to right after he started vlogging. And I was like, like this is so cool. Like he's making literally like a movie, like a cinematic, like cool, like he's upped the production quality of vlogging. And like so many others, I was just inspired by him to start, you know, that side of things and trying to make more authentic stories. And so I made a how to fly a drone like Casey Neistat, kind of inspired by, you know, like him crashing all of his stuff and whatnot. So I made a couple of those videos, and I made it because, you know, I could do the visual effects and like whatnot. There was kind of like the hope that he would see it, definitely, you know, like, but it wasn't like the main intention. It was more of like, you know, you've inspired me, so I'm taking this direction with my content because these are the things I like to make more. But that happened. Then I did a part 2 because the first one I think got like 70,000 views, which I have no idea if he saw it or not.
I'm sure at this point.
Yeah,
I would think so.
Maybe, but I mean, I don't know. But then I made a part 2, less to get his attention again, and more because it was kind of like a successful video on my channel for Colin Ross.
When you were pursuing that with Casey and everything, what do you think the overall challenge, or like the overall goal? Because obviously it would be nice to meet Casey, but what was the real reason for doing it? You know,
I think the real reason was like it was the first step in like, because I had made the vlogs, but that was kind of like the first step in making like more of like a short that I wanted to make in like the style with like visual effects. And so I think that was more of like the purpose behind it. Definitely, like, obviously no one's ever trying not to, you know, get 100,000 views on a video.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like the main purpose definitely was to just, that was like the first short that I had made on the Colin Ross channel that like I put 100% of my effort and time to in for like a couple weeks.
Yeah, and it's cool because within your vlog itself, you could follow along with the journey and be like, hey, here's this like little, like not even 2-second snippet. Like here's the drone, and this is 3D rendering still like in gray space or something like that.
Yeah.
You know? So I think that's one of the cool things when you can see those kind of where it takes to get, or what it takes to get from point A to point B as a creator, and gives so much more appreciation for the craft that you're doing. Not only that, but as you're going along, it's all the tips and tricks of like, well, did you start out in After Effects? Did you go to Cinema 4D?
Exactly.
Did you do like all these other things? It's like you're experiencing and hitting all of these, not roadblocks, but these challenges yourself, and everybody can kind of learn from what you're experiencing.
Exactly. I think sharing that process too is like, that's what I enjoy too, because so many people saw that. Well, there's some people that saw that, which I had, like, I'm sure that you have the experience too, when you're editing a video for a while, like by the time you render it and post it, you're like, I've seen this too many times, like this sucks, like I'm like I can't even like look at this anymore. I've just watched it too much. And I had stared at these drones for hours, like, and I'm like, these look so fake, like people are gonna hate this. And then like the first comments are like, you're ruining drones for everyone, you're gonna get them banned. And I'm like, they're not even like real. So, but I think like, so then obviously after that, I mean, like 99% of people I think knew that it was CG because they knew my previous work and whatnot.
Yeah.
It's cool to show, because so many people I think see that and then they kind of get interested. Well, like, how exactly did you do that? And then it kind of goes back to like the Freddie W, like full circle of like, now I get to make the tutorials that people are like, oh, like cool. Like now I get to see the process that went into making that.
It's so cool. It's such a great through line.
I love the cyclical nature in that sense of YouTube, of like, this person inspired this person, then that person, you know.
It's so true.
It's so like, it's such like, it's the best part of YouTube is that like inspiration leads to someone, you know, also becoming successful on the platform, and then they like, it's just such a cool cyclical nature of it.
I didn't even think about that. And what's also interesting is I've noticed what YouTube will do is if other people that you're subscribed to that you like communicate with a lot, like, so say Harvey Danger Films, right? You know, like,
yeah, I saw your podcast with him, the Tooth Fairy analogy. Shout out Harvey Danger.
Yeah, for sure. Like these other creators would be getting suggested to me on my feed, and then I go to start commenting on him. I'm like, oh, hey Harvey, what's up?
Yeah.
Like, and then I just noticed that like, oh, then these other people, and then speaking of Cody Warner and like the No Small Creator, like he popped up on my feed when he was still small, and it was like, if you watch his content, it's one of those guys where you're like, wait, how is this guy only at 2,000? This is crazy. And then I actually messaged Harvey, and I was like, I don't know if the algorithms already suggested this guy to you, but I suggest you check him out. But it, like, to me, that was like one of those things things where it first started popping up, and like I was like, oh, okay, I see what you're doing, Google.
Yeah,
I see what you're doing.
I see you filling in the dots in my brain.
Yeah, exactly. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about was Amir and what you do there, because it's a different platform, right? It's not YouTube, but it's also what you were just describing, like doing the Instagram stuff. But I feel like that was a big pivotal part in your personal page, at least.
It definitely was. Amir and I were. We went to the same filmmaking program in high school, and then when high school ended, he bought a one-way ticket to Hawaii, just moved off there.
Such a story.
Yeah, like he just like sent it out there, and I was definitely the more like cautious. I was like, oh, I'm gonna go to college, but then obviously I ended up dropping out after my sophomore year. I had kind of done a couple visual effects things for him, like when he was doing like weddings and like doing a couple personal projects on YouTube. But then he started to get a little bit bigger on Instagram, and he called me up and he was like, hey, I want to make a POV video, which is like the style that he makes with like, he like holds a GoPro in his mouth and like he walks like in cool places, and like I've kind of like helped adding transitions to like those projects that he's made for Instagram, and we've just kind of like tried to up the bar every time and like make them as creative as possible. So one of the first ones, and like kind of how it, you know, changed the content that I was making, and like it was like a pull through, like it was, he held out a postcard and then a girl like reached through the postcard, and then he grabbed onto her hand and like reached through to another world. And then I made an After Effects tutorial about that because so many people DM'd me. Like I got like 100 DMs after that. They were like, how do you do this? How do you do this? So I was like, I mean, people want to see this. So I made the tutorial, and then that kind of, I think that's what kind of generated a lot of my subscribers on the Colin Ross channel. But yeah, that definitely has changed what I'm doing, because then now Amir and I are getting more like branded projects, like because companies, you know, see like the production quality. And that's the other thing, like with, like, to go back to the no small creator, I think when you're putting out like that quality stuff, even if you don't, which obviously Amir has the numbers and I don't quite have like those numbers, but I think people respect and companies respect like if you can put out quality. So, but yeah, that was definitely just roundabout again.
Well, it also for Devin being featured on his channel too. Yeah. Can you talk about that?
Yeah. So, and then Amir lives in Hawaii. Devin, a lot of his integral parts, Devin Supertramp, if you don't know, probably, like everyone knows who Devin Supertramp is, but big part of Devin's story is integral on Hawaii and making glide cam videos on Hawaii and Oahu and Kauai and all the islands. So I'm not sure exactly how Amir and him connected, but they kind of were friends. And then Devin had this idea of, he wanted to kind of like spotlight people that he thought were creating cool things, and he reached out to Amir the first time and was like, hey, do you want to make a video like for my channel? So then he flew here, we filmed it in LA, and I was just kind of like the visual effects supervisor guy, but like, so we made the video together here and then went up on Devin's channel, which is just, it's so weird too, because like him and Freddie W were kind of in that same like beginning class of filmmaker YouTube people that like inspired me. And then like I put a video on his channel. It was just, like, it was one of like the most humbling things, because like you'd watch this guy's content. I'd watched this guy's content for so long, and then now like I was making his, like not his content, but I was making a video that was going on his page that his audience was watching. So it's very kind of like a meta, like, whoa, like how did this all come to be?
I think in context of trying to look at it from a 30,000 foot view is like, it's sort of hard to be like, once you're in the thick of things and after it happens, it's like, wait, what? How did I do that?
Exactly. It's like one of those things where like it's, you go through it and you do it and then like you're done. And obviously you worked, you know, like it was like not grueling process, but it was, you know, like we grinded out the video because there's a deadline that he wanted to post. And then you sit back in your chair and you're like, oh, and you think, you're like, wait, I just made a video for Devin Super. It's like, it's so crazy humbling. Like it's crazy. I think that also melts down to like taking opportunities when they present themselves, because I remember the first time that Amir called me, it was the day before I ended up leaving, but he was like, hey, like I have this idea, I want to make this project, can you come to Hawaii tomorrow? And I was like, which this was when I was back in LA over the summer last year, and I was like, yeah, like let's do it. And that's one of the other things that I think, God, I keep like I know I explained it, but so CCMegaProductions, since that's kind of like, I would consider that like my job, because it's not exactly what I want to be doing, but you know, it pays the bills. But something that's so great about having YouTube as like a job, like it, I have the freedom with my time to like, I don't, have to show up at work 9 a.m. in the morning tomorrow. So like I can kind of, take breaks when I want to pursue the things that like I really want to do. So I think taking that opportunity, like I didn't know how much it would lead to and how many more connections that it would have. I just was like, yeah, I just want to make a video. But I think taking those little jumps and those little like openings, like even if they don't seem that, like it was obviously a cool opportunity at the time, but it didn't, like you can never, like Steve Jobs said, you can never connect the dots looking back, or looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking back. So I think you just have to take in, like, anytime you're presented with an opportunity as a small filmmaker, just, take it. And if you, like have the means to, but yeah,
I think the crazy thing to me is even working at a place like The Chive, when posting content on Instagram, the numbers on those specific videos is mind-boggling to me, because it's not like Instagram is not like YouTube.
No, not at all.
It's not like a year from now, that first video that you did with Amir in Hawaii is not like let me look that up and search, and that it's not continually driving the stuff. And to put that much effort into one specific project and see how much of a like umbrella effect that it just had from that. And even with your After Effects thing, funneling the traffic to your channel, it's like, I still can't comprehend that. Like the amount that you guys put this much effort. Well, I could see from your point, because that's when you were daily vlogging,
Mm-hmm.
You're documenting the journey. It's like, sweet. It's like, this is a sweet thing to go document the journey for, But even then, coming out with the final product and it just being like a 60-second
Instagram
square video on Instagram, you can post it, and like just like any other video, it could be somebody doing the floss, like a backpack kid doing the floss. It's like the amount of effort that goes into each second is like, I don't know. I follow the backpack kid on Instagram, and he's like, I've come to just like, I was like, who is this guy? And now all the stuff I'm posting, or all the stuff he posts, I'm like, that's funny.
Yeah.
That's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But the amount of time that it takes for some of those videos versus like what you guys are doing, but then seeing the numbers that come from it versus like just doing a nice like time lapse or something like that. It's just, it's crazy to me on Instagram seeing those kind of numbers.
Yeah.
Like what were you thinking like right before it was posted, where you're like, oh, it'd be cool if we get like 5,000 views on this?
Yeah. I mean, I think at that time Amir had like 40,000 followers. But obviously, 40,000 followers doesn't mean 40,000 views.
Yeah.
But I think at the time, especially since I was like daily vlogging and like focusing so much on making that content for that channel, I was in the mode of like, don't stop to think about it. Just like, I was just like kind of like in the crazy cycle.
You're so busy that
I was just like, make this vlog, make the tutorial vlog. Oh wait, the video's posted, and then like Amir's like a week later, because a lot of the success from those videos also came from 9gag, which is like, it's a website, but they also have an Instagram page with like 50 million followers. Wow. Yeah, so they're pretty big, but they saw the video or something and then reposted it. And from that is where a lot of like the crazy numbers on, because like when they posted the video, I think it got like 5 or 6 million views on their page, which obviously that's not us getting those views, but like it's credited in Instagram, and Instagram's a pretty, like you said, it's just different than YouTube, and like the conversion's different with how many people are gonna click on to see like who made it. And but yeah, it's just it's weird because I didn't really stop to think about. I was just like, I just got to make this and make it cool, and then like push it out and like keep going. Because I was because kind of when I talked about earlier, is like when like I stopped back to look at all the things that I did during that period where I was doing daily content. I didn't stop to like breathe. Like there was like almost like no breathing room with like trying to pump all this stuff out, and then like basically just got burnt out. But yeah, I didn't really stop to think about the numbers that much of like the Instagram posts.
But I think that speaks volumes to who you are as a person, because again, it was like you're creating content for content's sake. It's like, all right, I'm focused in more on my work than seeing the numbers come in on a specific level, because like you said, there's a happy medium there where it's like, yes, I don't want to be a starving artist, so I have to do the other things to pay the bills, but it's still nice in a way that you get to do what you're doing on your own accord.
Yeah.
You're accountable for yourself.
Exactly. And that's what I love. And thank you. I appreciate that a lot. But yeah, just that's what I love about the Colin Ross channel. And like, even though I haven't posted to it for a couple months, is like, I just make what I want to make. And like for a while, like towards the end of that little streak, I was doing like some things that were more targeted, like the boosted board thing and like all that. And I think making those things kind of made me step back and like think, I don't want this to turn into the CCMegaProductions channel again. I don't want, you know, like the numbers to influence it, and like me trying not to go viral, but to just, you know, make more targeted things. Like that's what CCMegaProductions is for. But I don't want Colin Ross to ever be about that. I just want to, you know, make the videos like because I like making the videos.
Yep, exactly. I think that's the discussion that people have been having on YouTube, where it's like the burnout and all that other stuff.
Yeah.
And like, where's that line of creativity to producing content and also like maintaining a deadline? Like, is it responsible for you? It's so weird, the discussion to have for that, where is it a loss or a failure if you miss something, like if you miss that one day, like, or is it a learning experience? Is it like, are you not holding yourself accountable to yourself? Like, it's such like a philosophical question.
It definitely is. It definitely is. And like, that's like when I was on that daily train at the end of last year, I remember the first day I missed was, it was not the first project in Hawaii, but the second project. And I remember we went camping that night, and I forgot the batteries to my camera. You remember that? Yeah. So I forgot the cameras to my batteries. Forgot the batteries to my camera. I remember like we were up there, and I was like, shit. like come on, like I'm doing this daily. Like I've committed to this. I'm gonna like do it with every ounce of my effort possible. And like, but I just had to accept that like I literally can't now, because I'm out on this mountain in Hawaii and my camera's dead. And like, but then like I thought like that was also kind of like the first like breaking out of like the trance of making the daily content, where I sat back. I'm like, I'm in Hawaii doing what I love with like a great group of people. Like how can I be frustrated at myself like in this moment? Like I've worked hard and like I made a mistake, but you just kind of have to accept that. And it wasn't because I didn't want to work hard. It was just because, you know, I made a little mistake. But then that was, you know, the moment I first looked back and thought, like, just had a moment of reflection about what am I actually like doing here on the channel? Like where, it's crazy. Like once you, like I kind of talked about, when you get in that momentum, like you don't really stop to like think about what you're doing. And that was kind of that first moment.
One of the guys I just did a podcast here, Zach Arnold, he's the editor was the editor for Burn Notice and like Empire, and he does professional like TV, and he's made he does
really
production
cool stuff,
things, you know, and he has this podcast called Optimize Yourself, and another YouTuber recommended like, oh, hey, you should go interview this guy because he's an editor and all this other stuff, and he talks about creativity and burnout and all this stuff. And I opened up his podcast and I started listening to it, and I was like, what? I was just like, it blew my mind, the stuff that he talked about, because it was so relatable from an editor's standpoint. Now he's gotten to the point where he talks to anybody, whether it be like a fitness person or somebody that's like a paraplegic or anything like that in their life. And then he's so good at finding these different spots of where can anybody learn from this person's journey, you know? And in that regard, he taught, what I'm getting at though, is like with your instance of forgetting the batteries, and the most like extreme way possible, you're on a mountain, you're out, you're like, it took that to get you, to pull you out of like, oh, maybe it's okay. And not only that, but you're probably in this very beautiful scenic place.
Yeah, exactly. It was just kind of like, whoa, I'm on like one of the most beautiful locations in the world. Like it was like, snap out of it. Like just like, you know, and like enjoy the moment. Yeah,
appreciate the time that you're there. What I was gonna get at with that is he asks a lot about why stacking is what he brings up, and it's so, and he even talked about this on the podcast, where he said why do you want to start a YouTube channel, right? It's like, well, I want to get subscribers, I want to get famous or whatever. Like, cool. Like, well, then why? Like, and then like, so you go from there and they're like, well, because you have influence, I won't have to do my 9-to-5 job. I'll be able to like create and be creative, you know? Well, why? And then like you keep, it's like a little 2-year-old that's like, well, why? Blah, blah. But then eventually, it gets to the point where it's like, all right, because I have influence, because I have this time now that I can dictate what I'm doing with my time in my life and what I value and everything. Now I can like do this other stuff. Like in his circumstance, like he has a documentary about the first paraplegic that got scuba diving certified and stuff like that. So he's like bringing awareness to other causes because of the influence that he has in certain things. Not only that, but like with his podcast, it's like I'm a product of it because I'm talking about it right now. You know, it's like oh, I want other people to know about this thing because like in terms of like burnout and all this other stuff, it gives you other questions philosophically to ask about like when I started out to just do YouTube and like left my job and everything and do this podcast, that's what I was asking myself is like, all right, like and it becomes more of like the essence, and I can't like preach this to you because you know way more than I, the value of your time. And like the value of your time is just so much in what you're doing with everyday counts, you know? It's like the value of your time, and that's it starts to become really apparent like what's very important in life, you know? And like doing daily vlogs or doing creation, even as an editor, from frame to frame, from scene to scene, it's like why am I making this content?
Yeah.
And it gets back to your vlogs where, all right, we have beautiful scenic stuff, but then afterwards or throughout, you have like talking heads, or you try and make content that is relatable to people in a ways that's like, hey, what am I going through right now? What is like what's the bigger purpose of like what I'm doing and all this other stuff? So even subconsciously, if you aren't asking yourself that, you've already achieved the thing that's like, well, the purpose of what I'm trying to do here is not just to create beautiful content. It's like, no, it's to fill my creative endeavors and whatnot. But like you said, at the very beginning of the podcast, which again speaks volumes to who you are, is that it's inspiration train, like we were just talking about, the spider web that just like comes. And again, like I'm here as like in fruition of what you're talking about. Like, oh, you inspired me. I went on this whole path. I did this thing. Then like it's a whole butterfly effect of like through doing this podcast, there's this other lady that I met where she's really into wine. And I was like, hey, you should do this creatively, blah, blah, blah. Like fast forward now, she has her own podcast. She has her own thing. She has her own radio station and doing like this other thing with this wine. And now she's pursuing that. Then this other guy is doing this other thing. It's like, it's so like crazy. So
like the trickle, it's just like stretches forever. But like
it's more fulfilling and a breath of fresh air to see content creators that are more purposeful with what they're doing. And that's not to say, and like alluding to like a Logan Paul or like a Jake Paul or anything, like in their content in and of themselves, they have motivational stuff that they're talking about. They're like, look, we're doing this daily. And they're like, I think the thing that I can appreciate just from that standpoint is like, before things went down, was the fact of doing a daily vlog. I was just like, that was crazy to me. And then obviously other stuff happens and like things can sway. But what I like to cap off all of the podcasts with is, if you were to tell somebody in your position but starting out, say it's like you and Amir like cutting off at that Kansas City, like that moment, like if you were to go back and tell somebody in that position, what would you tell them to achieve what you have gotten so far?
Oh man, that's a question. I don't know. I think it kind of comes back to what I talked a little bit about, of like taking the opportunity and just, you know, not being afraid. When I was a kid, I was just always kind of like very cautious, very not scared. I just wasn't someone that would pick up and go to Hawaii the next day. I think taking those opportunities, like also another thing that Gary Vee says a lot, is like one piece of content can change your life. And it might not be the exact way you think. It might not be, you know, I make the Casey Neistat video and he blows it up and like I get 20,000 subscribers overnight. It might be me taking the opportunity with Amir, making that piece of content, which leads to another piece of content. Like it's all, I think just take the opportunities and don't be afraid, even if like fear presents itself in some way. I think diving in is really like the only way to go about it. Just to like go in, take the opportunities when they're there, enjoy the moments with those that you're close to, like behind the scenes, and don't like ever like don't forget about those relationships, because I've never been like a like bad friend or like a bad boyfriend or like a bad son to like my parents, but like there were definitely moments where like I got in too deep, too past my head and like what I was doing, and I just wasn't as good of a person to them as I know I could have been. So yeah, I think take the opportunities, but just like cherish the moments when you're living them like with like your close ones.
It sounds like living a life of gratitude.
Yes, definitely.
Even this opportunity is presenting itself, but also giving time to the people that help you get to that point.
Exactly.
Yeah. Great piece of advice.
Thank you, man.
Where can people find you?
People can find me at youtube.com/Colin Ross official. I don't know why they have like the thing on YouTube where you can pick your custom URL, and instead of just doing Colin Ross, I did Colin Ross official. I don't know why, but it's Colin Ross official. And yeah, that's pretty much, or Instagram.com/CPRoss7. But a lot of my stuff that I do goes on the Colin Ross channel when I'm like doing the things that I want to do.
Awesome. You can find me at Javier Mercedes X on all the social things, but not YouTube, because that's where I could actually get Javier Mercedes. There's a lot of people in the world named Javier Mercedes.
Really?
Yeah. But thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you coming by, and like it's so crazy too to like see like you just like quitting the chive.
Yeah.
Quitting the chive, taking the leap, coming here, and like you said that you like I inspired you, which is super humbling, and like now it's like it's just like it's awesome to see you like just doing it and like
yeah, man,
trying to make it happen.
Yeah, for sure. Not trying, doing
yeah, make not trying to make it happen, making it happen.
Yeah, man. It has been such a pleasure. It's definitely a check off the list of like, seriously, when I set out to do the podcast, it's like, man, I'm going to get Colin on the podcast at some point in time, and boom, it's happening. It's happening.
That's awesome.
Thank you again. And this has been such a pleasure. Subscribe, like. Oh, and if you're listening to this on iTunes in the audio format.
Give it a rating.
Yes.
Rating.
Please.
Come on.
I'm just like, so one of those things where, like, even if you're listening to like the H3 podcast or whatever, they'll do things where they just keep saying like, they'll stay on the topic of like, when you leave a comment or you leave a rating, and then like, that's when a lot of things trickle down. So I'm just going to say like, leave a rating on
Leave a rating.
One more time, rating Spotify
rating.
or iTunes. Thank you. All right. Bye, guys.